new normal? Well, I think one question is who decides, right? Who decides what the new normal is? And some of the new normal is going to be decided by external factors, government policy, what's safe and that kind of thing. But a lot of what the new normal becomes really depends on us. And so this is our opportunity to be very thoughtful, to be very, begin with the end in mind. What do I want to see? It's going to be continually evolving. That's not easy for me to say. It's going to keep changing, right? And I will say, as a psychologist, I'm a bit concerned that when the doors open up, people will be like, yay, back to normal. It's not going to be back to normal. And I think there's going to be a lot of mindset strategies that we're going to need to implement for ourselves, for our teams, for our families, for our communities, to really help us understand this, to accept it, and then still move forward with resiliency. And really the new normal, I would say, is it starts from the inside out. It starts from the inside out. Everything starts from the inside out. And yes, I know I'm a shrink, and so of course I think that. But it really is what we say to ourselves. It's our interpretation of what's going on that's going to determine how, not only what the new normal is, but how well we function in it. And it reminds me of a time when I was doing my postdoctoral training at Parkland Hospital. Different from Parkland, Florida. I think there was a gentleman, I wrote his name down, Dan was from Parkland, Florida. So different from that. This is Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas. I saw a lot of Dallas, Texas comments saying that they were from Dallas. So I did my postdoctoral training at Parkland Hospital, major medical center, right? It's where JFK was brought after he was shot. And I worked in consultation liaison for the emergency room. So when people came in, and because it's a major medical trauma unit, we had some people who come in from car accidents, all kinds of different accidents, all kinds of different trauma. And as the psychologist, I was there to support them through a very trying time. So the medical team took care of the medical needs, and my team helped out with the psychological component, because as you can imagine, there's a lot going on. There's one particular gentleman, I'll call him Roger, and Roger was an electrician. And I got a consult for Roger. It said status post bilateral upper extremity amputation, which is just a fancy way of saying they cut both of his arms off. Roger was an electrician who'd been working on a wire that was supposed to be inactive, but unfortunately it was active. And so as he was working on it, his body got so severely burned that the doctors gave his wife the option: he can die, or we can amputate his arms and he may live. So they amputated his arm surgically, he lived, and I was going to be there to support him. Right, and I distinctly remember before going into his room, I remember thinking, what am I supposed to do for this guy? Obviously he's depressed. Obviously he's feeling hopeless and helpless and worthless. And what am I going to do? Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, this isn't really what you want your psychologist to be thinking before she comes to help you. But I was young in my practice, and I'm much more mature now. So I remember knocking on the door and hearing a muffled come in. And when I opened the door, there is Roger. And Roger had this, he was a very tall man, at least 6'3", 6'4". I could tell even when he was sitting in the chair. He had that horrible hospital gown, kind of grayish, bluish. No one looks good in that. He had this full head of hair, big mustache, dark brown hair, and no arms. And he had a big smile on his face. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he's delusional. Like, he doesn't even know that he lost his arms. But he wasn't delusional. Perhaps it was his psychologist who was delusional. Roger was very happy. Was he happy he lost his arms? Of course not. No. What he was happy about was his focus on still being alive. In his mind, he had been saved. He was still on this earth for a very important reason. And he didn't know what the reason was, but he was very excited to figure it out. And I remember looking at him, and I spent a while with him while he was in acute care, and then would go visit him in the rehab hospital. And I just was amazed at how happy he was, what a perspective he had. And I thought to myself, I have a PhD, I have a husband, we have a home, like, things are pretty good. I want that happiness. And so it was my foyer into researching happiness, and I wrote a best-selling book called Happy You, Your Ultimate Prescription for Happiness. But the reason why I bring it out now is because it's really, these are tough times, without a doubt. So part of the new normal is what is changing on the outside. What I really want to focus on today is really optimizing the inside of you.